on the exam for A, they will probably add this word algebraically. You have to solve this algebraically. They want to force you to use the formula and to practice with the formula to find all of the solutions. Technically, an algebraic solution also says, I've found all the answers, whereas guessing and checking finds one answer, but how do you know there wasn't more than one answer? Okay. So, algebraically, this would look like this. I'd go to my formula, and NP2 would mean that there's an n factorial on the top and an n minus 2 factorial on the bottom, and it's equal to 56. So one of the things you have to do when you get to variables is you have to know which one's bigger, n or n minus 2. If you're unsure, plug a number in for n. If n is 10, can you see the top would be 10 and the bottom would be 8? Which is bigger? The top. Okay? Sometimes it's not easy. Like this one, you're like, okay, Mr. JR, it's easy for me to see that the top one is bigger, right? But sometimes your brain kind of like, if I gave you this, which one's bigger, n minus 7 or n minus 5? Quick. N minus 5. Right? But your brain sees the 7 and you're like, oh, 7's bigger. Come on, pick me, pick me. Do you see how that one's a little bit trickier to see which one's the bigger one? Okay. So, once we decide which one is the bigger one, we start expanding it using the formula. So how do I expand n factorial? Well, it would be n times, and then you'd have 1 less, n minus 1, then times, and then you'd have 1 less, which would be n minus 2. And when I get to n minus 2, I'm like, hey, wait a second, I have an n minus 2 on the bottom. If it's going to keep going there and it keeps going on the bottom, those will simplify and go away. So I don't have to go all the way down to 1, because they're already going to get canceled. And of course, this is still equal to 56. So now I have n times n minus 1 is equal to 56, and you need to recognize this is a quadratic equation. If I multiply this out, I would have n squared minus n. How do I solve quadratic equations? I make one side equal to 0, and then I either factor or use the quadratic formula. Nice thing about permutations, if we get an answer for n, it should be a nice number. So you're not going to need the quadratic formula unless you completely forget how to factor, which could happen. We have n and n. 8 times 7 is 56. I need the 8 to be negative and the 7 to be positive, so I have two possibilities. N could be 8 and n could be negative 7. But it doesn't make sense to have a negative 7 in a factorial, so we have to X out this one and circle this one as our final answer. Here too, the exam is quite fussy. If you just circled the right answer, you would lose marks. You need to show that you know that that other one doesn't work. So sometimes people factor and just like right away just write n equals 8. The exam says, no, we want you to show that n equals negative 7 was a possibility and that you actually rejected it. Same thing in trig. If there's answers that are not possible, they want you to put an X through it, make some sort of note, right? Not possible, something like that, to show that you understand that that value doesn't work. Okay? Let's look at our shortcut, because this one you would have to do algebraic. The shortcut would say the 2 means 2 spaces. Can you think of 2 numbers in a row that make 56? 8 times 7. So then, and n is the number you start with, so the number you started with is 8. So you can check your answer that way. But in an algebraic one, you would have to show your work with the factorials. Okay? However, there are some questions, like B, which I would say is not an algebraic question. In fact, the algebraic way of doing it is so long and tedious that it's not actually worth it. So instead we use the spaces. We don't know how many spaces there's going to be, but we know if we had one space, you would have a 5 in it. Is it equal to 20? No. So add another space and put a 4 in it. Is it equal to 20? Yes. Okay. So R has to be 2. That's how easy that one is, if you know the shortcut. And that would be one you would be allowed to use the shortcut. So I'll try to, on your tests for sure, if I want algebraically, I will tell you algebraically, okay, really explicitly, and I will be asking that one, because the shortcut is too easy. Okay, circle question number 10.